Hello and welcome to IATEFL Live. My name is Georgia Papamichailidou and we are back from the IATEFL conference. However, today we have got a very special show for you. Today we are celebrating Earth Day, and this show is for you not only because we want to start the conversation, but because we want to start the action. So in this show, you're going to hear from experts who are here in this live show to talk to us about their action in ELT and education. And feel free to write in the comments your ideas and your suggestions for our learners and how we can make education a greener space for everyone, managers, students, educators in general. So we are here to be inspired. Feel free to let us know where you're watching us from. And of course, since we've just come back from the conference, I would like to invite first in our show, John Barton, who is our Chief Executive. Hello, John.
Hello, Georgia. Has there been a conference? I had no idea. I must have missed that. How are you? Long time no see. Yes, we're just about recovering now. It was so fantastic to see everybody in Edinburgh and all those who couldn't join us there, who were following online. And Georgia, congratulations to you and the team for all of the coverage of the conference. It's been fantastic reading all the feedback. So brilliant.
We wouldn't have made it without you, John, and the team in head office. Everybody, trustees, head office, they have been incredible. So thank you all very much.
Effort. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But so, now we're talking about all things green, which is so important.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about all things green. And John, a lot of people have asked me during the conference, so how we remain sustainable as well. And this is my question to you. What do we do during the conference to encourage sustainability?
It's a really, really good and a very, very important question to us, because I think inevitably what we see is thousands of delegates joining us in Edinburgh, and the question, of course, how is that sustainable? How is it sustainable that people are coming together in one place from around the world, and the impact that that has? And we're very much aware of that impact, and we do a range of things to help to mitigate that. We do throughout the year as an association, and we do within the conference itself. And actually, we share that list every year with the wider ELT community. Not because we think we're doing everything right, but just sharing what we do. And then we hopefully get ideas from other organizations on how we can improve. But Georgia, if I can, I sat down. When you told me about this, I sat down and I came up with my top 5. Can I quickly run through my top 5? My top 5, the first one I had was location. And as an association, we're really careful with locations that we choose, and we actually sit down and work out the carbon impact of different locations on where we can hold the conference. And we always, I hope you notice, choose city centre locations with good public transport to encourage delegates to use that, and wherever possible, car sharing for delegates who are traveling from similar destinations. We as a head office, we all use public transport when we're traveling as well. So location is the first one. The second one I put was using the opportunity. So if we are having all of these English language teaching professionals from around the world all in one place, then we have a huge responsibility to make sure that sustainability is discussed. It is sort of within the context of the whole conference. And so actually one of our headline plenaries was specifically about sustainability again this year. And there were plenty of sessions, and within sessions talking about other things. Sustainability was one of the key headlines. So I think using that opportunity that we have got everybody together. Of course, we used to run a lot more face-to-face events. 90% of our events throughout the year are online now, and our annual conference, we take it very sort of seriously that we do have sustainability as a key talking point. Printing is my next one. Not very exciting, I admit, but we do two things with printing. The first is that we aim to reduce printing as much as possible. So you may have noticed as a delegate that all the registration was online. We print out all our delegate badges on hardware and paper rather than plastic or paper within a plastic folder. We send out digital certificates so that no wasted paper occurs. And we encourage all of our speakers not to print out handouts from their session, but to share their handouts online, or perhaps their PowerPoints. The second part about printing, I think, is where we have it printed. So whenever we do need printing, we have it printed in the same city as we're running the event to reduce the carbon impact of transporting lots of pieces of paper or booklets or programs. So for example, our conference program at the Edinburgh conference was printed in Edinburgh. The number 4 on my list was all about signage and graphics. And when you're at the conference, you see all the signs pointing you in one direction or another and promoting and advertising. And for us, we have actually for quite a few years now been prioritizing, and the majority of our signage is all made of recycled cardboard rather than plastic. And we also aim increasingly to be able to reuse those. So they're collected again at the end of the conference, they're stored away, and they're reused at the following events, as it were. And perhaps the most important one I've got was number 5, which is working together. So it's not just IATEFL. We work with our delegates, so we share ideas on how they can have a more sustainable conference. We talk to and we work with our amazing exhibitors to encourage them and to give ideas, sharing ideas that they've taken upon themselves and celebrating what they're doing to make the event more sustainable. Also working together with the venue, and we look at each of the venues and we build sustainability into our choice of venues as well. So for example, with Edinburgh, it's actually the whole city is working towards being carbon zero by 2030. The conference centre is a key part of that. They have a policy of zero waste going to landfill, everything's recycled, everything is sourced locally. So again, it's working together. But I think taking it one step back, IATEFL, it's one of our 5 key main aims of sustainability. And so every decision we make has sustainability as a consideration within it. That happens at conference and then throughout the year. So I think I would say, and I'll put it in the chat, we actually, as I say, we share everything we do as an association at the office and also at conference publicly on our website. Every year we do an audit, and I'll put that in the link. Do have a look at it, and if you've got an idea of something that you are doing in your association, in your institution, or when you're running an event that you think we might be able to do, brilliant, tell us about it.
Amazing. John, I think that you might have forgotten something though.
Oh, what was that? What have I forgotten?
Our sustainability wall.
Oh, for goodness sake, you're absolutely right. And you know, there were some brilliant ideas. So for those of you who weren't there, we had a big sustainability wall. It was bricks, and people were encouraged to share ideas and write them on a brick, so that with the idea being that we can build a more sustainable profession. There were some brilliant ideas on there and things that people were proud to share that they've done in their community. Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely. It was incredible because after a very long day at the conference, Nikki, Anka, and I were leaving the exhibition hall. We were going past the sustainability wall, and I would always stop and tell the girls, wait, I want to read more. And the girls would just say, Georgia, come on, we need to go.
No, it's a great idea, because I think that's the thing. We don't know everything. So asking people and embracing what ideas, what initiatives teachers have had, or what they're doing in the classroom, outside the classroom, what their institution is doing, what their local community is doing, because sharing that knowledge is really important.
Absolutely. Well, John, this has been fantastic. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. It's lovely to see you again.
It was really nice to see you too. And of course, now we cannot have the conversation without inviting Chris Graham, our IATEFL president.
Or should we stand to attention at this point?
At the very least, John, at the very least, thank you.
Hi, Chris. Nice to see you.
Hi, good. Nice to see you all three of you. Two of you. Three of us.
Brilliant. So, John, I'm going to say goodbye to you now. Thank you very much for informing us about sustainability action in conferences. I must say that as a manager myself, I really appreciate seeing larger companies having this kind of action, and it has me thinking of how I operate in my school as well. So this is brilliant. Thank you so very much, John.
Pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Bye, John.
All right. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
Nice to meet you again.
For a while. Nice to see you again. It's been over a week now, isn't it? So there we are.
Absolutely. So, Chris, we've been talking about green action in the IATEFL conference, but what happens after the conference? This is something I would like to discuss with you here so that we can show to our audience as well, not only what we do as IATEFL, but also what they can do and how we can inspire people from home.
Well, I think just going back to what John said, we have our initiative Green IATEFL that I'll talk about a little bit more in a second, but it's important to understand that we couldn't do the kind of work around Green IATEFL without knowing that IATEFL as an organization wasn't also doing its best. I mean, no one's perfect. No one can get sustainability 100% right. But all the things that John said show that around the conference, which is not the only thing we do, but it's the biggest thing we do, there are so many initiatives being put into practice. We're practicing what we preach, I think, which is tremendously important. Obviously, that can help maybe other conference organizers and other associations too. But I just think it's really nice to know, to understand what is going on within the head office and within the conference. But post the conference, I mean, someone said to me, you've got this Green IATEFL thing. How successful is it? I was talking to the AGM about this. And it's a really hard question to answer, because how do you measure it? How do you know it's working? I mean, my very simple measure, would be simply that there are more people talking about it. I think it's beginning to kind of get embedded in our ways of thinking. It's high on the list of considerations in lesson planning and materials writing and in the way publishers produce materials and ship materials and all the things that different stakeholders do. So if it's not a very scientific measure, but I think it's probably quite a good measure. People are talking about it. It's not something that happened in a tiny little room at the back of the conference and nobody ever goes to anymore, but it's in lights, as it were. It's up there. It's in our daily discussions, and that I feel very happy about. I'm not saying that Green IATEFL has necessarily made that happen, but it's part of the measure of the success overall, I think. So that I would say is very important. Should I talk a little bit about Green IATEFL?
Please, because you've mentioned Green IATEFL, and can you tell us a few things more about it?
Well, Green IATEFL, I suppose, is designed to be to provide members and non-members and other stakeholders in the LT community with ideas and support as we all go on this kind of sustainability journey. And we'll be launching the main content on the website fairly soon. That includes a series of toolkits for different stakeholders, be they teacher educators, be they materials writers, school managers, and so on. Toolkits are guidelines that hopefully people can take, adapt, and apply in their own context, and they'll be downloadable. Most of them are ready to go. And in addition to that, we've also got a resource bank, again, of materials and ideas, websites, webinars that people can download and can use. So there's that level of things. But I also would include within Green IATEFL, IATEFL Voices, six issues a year publication, because last year we did a sustainability special in September, where nearly all the content was around sustainability. We're repeating it this year for September, except that everything will be written by special interest groups and associates. And that is part of the drive to embed green, beyond green, let's say, to embed sustainability into all the different aspects of IATEFL by getting people engaged. We're encouraging people perhaps who haven't written much before, haven't had an article published. Let's have a go. Get something written about what's going on in your school, practical stuff, lesson plans, ideas, growing projects, beach cleans, whatever it is. Let's hear about it and let's publish it. So I think it's beginning to get embedded in the IATEFL community, and therefore, hopefully, it's an extension of that in the global ALT community.
Yes. And can I please ask you, so you mentioned how members can get involved in sustainability efforts within IATEFL. What would you suggest to the people watching us from home? How can they be involved?
Well, I think the biggest thing that people can do is to share. I used to think, I've said this many times, I used to think teachers were very good at sharing things. I've now realized they're actually quite territorial and don't like sharing things very much. If there's something in your school, whether it might be a growing project, if you're in a primary school and you've got the kids growing something in the schoolyard or the school garden, tell us about it. Could just be an email to me, an email to anyone at IATEFL, and we'll share it in some way if we can. Because I think it's so important that what's going on in one country or one school or one institution can so easily be applied elsewhere. And there's lots and lots of teachers and school managers and other stakeholders working away at these projects, but they're not connected. So that's really what we want to try and do. We take your idea. It doesn't have to be a massive article. It could just be a few photographs, a little bit of text. We'll put it there, make it shareable so somebody somewhere else can benefit from it. They'll have to adapt it, perhaps their context, but you've done the work and they can then, make it fit where they work. So that's the one thing people can do is share. So get in touch, anything at all. Don't think, this is not very good, this is a bit small. No, that's not the case. The more, the merrier, whether it's a big project or a tiny project. We'd love to hear about it and we'd love to share it.
Absolutely. And you know what, Chris, I think that this is an important point that you've mentioned, that as educators, we usually look at resources, course books, materials, whatever is out there. And we usually think that, that is not good for my class, or I cannot use that as a manager, for example. So it is always a little bit difficult. And we do face a lot of challenges when we want to start taking action. What kind of challenges do you think we can overcome with little steps? And what are these steps that we can actually start doing?
Well, I think, there are several challenges. I think the biggest challenge is teachers want to do it. Teachers want to engage with sustainability. They want to get their students exploring these topics, but they don't know how to. What do I do? I haven't got time. So I think what we can do as an organization, we can do for each other is formal and informal CPD. And sharing a project that you've done in your school, or sending it to us to share it, is kind of informal CPD. Someone, that's interesting, I've read that, I can try that. So that type of CPD, but also increasingly more formalized CPD. I think it is important that providers of initial teacher training and also ongoing CPD do always have this kind of sustainability kind of thought in the back of their head. Okay, can we put a sustainability twist on this? Do we need to remember this? And that will also help it get embedded. I think that's perhaps one of the biggest challenges. Teachers, they're not quite sure what to do. I think it's better than it was maybe 5 years ago, but I'm sure it's better than it was 5 years ago. But it's got to get better, keep getting better, and we've got to keep at it, basically, because there's a risk of complacency. There are always distractions. But, sustainability is pretty important. I think we don't want to get distracted from it. I want to keep focused on it. So, yeah, I think ultimately it's making teachers feel that they are equipped with the tools to go into class and to work on those themes.
Absolutely. And I think that if we start keeping it at the back of our heads, then it becomes reality and becomes part of our routine. So when I used to teach, I used to have the Sustainable Thursdays, where we did always a sustainability themed activity in my classes, so that we can start a conversation. Because I think that when students see sustainability as an one-off activity, it doesn't stick to them. But if we put it as part of our habits during the week, then it becomes part of the conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at other levels, like staff meetings, or weekly meetings, however often schools gather as a community, make sure there's at least one item on the agenda, always about sustainability. And again, it's like you say, it just kind of reminds people, and it becomes set in our minds. As teachers, we always think about level. What level are they? First question, what level is this group? I've got to see what level. Okay, fine, level's important. But if we can say, have they done much work on sustainability? Okay, that's another thing that we should always ask. So I think we're getting there, and I think the conversation's going in the right direction. But I don't think we certainly can't risk
exactly.
And
exactly. I'm very happy that we have stopped being as let's start the conversation, and we have started going into let's start the action, and that we are way deep into the action. Now, Chris, I have got another question for you. If you could change one thing in our industry, in the ELT world, to make it more sustainable, what would it be?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, because there are lots of things I'd like to answer, some of which may not be appropriate. You only want one. I would like, it's not something I would change. I would like us to really understand the sustainability impact of face-to-face teaching versus online teaching, because we don't really have a clear calculation. There are so many variables, and mine's much smarter than mine, have not really come up with a yes, this is better or that is better in terms of sustainability, because there's so much chatter around it, and it is such an important thing. We're live streaming. We've got how many people listening? If they'd all flown in to see us or something, or traveled a great distance to see us, it would seem obvious that the impact would be more. But then you look at, you do work about the impact of online, of tech, of AI, my favorite subject. Maybe. So I would love to have a crystal clear, it's probably not quite the answer you wanted, but a kind of crystal clear, yes, it's better to do 30 hours online versus 30 hours face-to-face. I've read a lot, and I come away feeling confused every time. Maybe it's just me.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you so very much. This was really, really helpful and very inspiring. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. As ever, Georgia. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
And of course, we will see you again in the show. So Chris, thank you so much. And we will hear more about Green IATEFL.
Hello, and we are back. And this afternoon, we decided that we were only going to talk to people named Chris and John. So I'm joined by another Chris. So this is Chris Etchells. Hello, it's lovely to have you with us this afternoon. How are you today?
I am very well. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much, Nikki.
Well, we're very glad to have you here because, as Georgia was saying, and Chris as well, there's not a lot of people know what to do in terms of sustainability and where to start. And you might be one of the people that can help us. So, Chris, first of all, let me ask you, what do you do? What's your role in the organisation that you work for? Tell us about that.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you can see, I represent Green Action ELT, which is a volunteer-led initiative to try to help English language teaching and actually educators generally to respond to the climate and ecological crisis. So that's, it sounds very grand, but our thinking was, look, we have this problem. As educators, we're always looking to the future. We're trying to create a better future for our students, whether they're children or adults. That's what education is all about. And the future is threatened as a result of the climate and ecological crisis. So our thinking was that we need to be doing everything we can as individuals and as organizations to try to improve the situation. So that was our starting point. So we started thinking about this in 2019, and we've created a website to help address these issues and to record our findings and our research. So at our website, for example, oh, thank you, we've got the URL there. You can find things like Green ELT guides, Green English Language Teaching guides. And they are guides, for example, which give advice on teaching green, bringing green issues into the classroom, as we were talking about in the last interview. How to write a green policy for your organization. If you provide food in your institution, some advice on perhaps providing slightly better food provision along, more ecological lines, avoiding waste of various kinds. We've got advice on energy and water and so on. So there are sort of a dozen ELT guides that anybody listening here might be interested in. And then we hold regular events as well. We hold webinars. We have one coming up on Friday, actually, this Friday on green accreditation. And we're going to be holding a one-day conference on the 6th of June as well, an online conference on practical teaching in the English language classroom, practical green teaching in the English language classroom. So 2 things to watch out for there. As a result of the webinars that we've held over the years, we've recorded most of them. And so we've got a webinar video library, again, at the website. And that's got, for example, advice on bringing the SDGs into English language teaching, the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. We have a discussion on artificial intelligence and climate change and how that impacts English language teaching. It's an interesting topic at the moment. We've got advice on greening the curriculum, on training for green leads in organizations, got advice on outdoor language learning and so on. And our very latest initiative, just to finish, is what we're calling the Green Action ELT Pledge. And this is a kind of a self-assessment for individuals and organizations. So whether you're a freelancer, you're a teacher working in an organization, or you represent the organization itself, we encourage you to take our pledge. It won't cost you anything, but the idea is that it will, in the process, it will identify what you're already doing. And then it'll support and suggest further actions. So we've got 3 levels, gold, silver, bronze. The assumption is that most people will step in on the bronze level, but there might be people who are doing some sort of basic things at bronze, but are also doing some really excellent things at gold level. So the idea is that the pledge will pull this information together. We'll then be able to collect what people are doing, feed it back out to the rest of the industry to encourage others, and hopefully keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum moving for positive change within English language teaching.
Wow, Chris, that was a lot of very useful information in one go. Let me just rewind a tiny bit. So you mentioned the website, which is where you can find all the information that you've actually just mentioned. Who's the website for primarily? Is it for organizations? Is it for schools? Is it for individual teachers? Who would you say it's targeted at?
I'd say it's targeted at all of these. We make an effort to remember that most of the time the people who are coming to our webinars are individual language teachers who just want to make a difference, make the world a better place. For example, are aware of green issues, but not too sure how to bring them into their organization. Or they're looking at their organization and thinking, gosh, this organization could be doing a lot more, And maybe they want to chat to their colleagues and say, do you agree that this organization should be doing more? Because there was an article in The Guardian this morning, the UK Guardian newspaper, saying that something like 89% of people want to see action to improve our future, to address the climate and ecological crisis. And most people underestimate the fact that everybody else, that others want to see this as well. So the fact is that the vast majority of people want to see positive change. So if you're in an organization, you look around and you're thinking, they're still using single-use plastics, or they're still using far too much paper, or they're still, whatever it is, then go to our website, have a look at our Green Action ELT guides, our Green ELT guides, and have an idea in your mind as to what your organization could be doing. Get the support of your colleagues, and then take it to your organization, to the management in your organizations. Often this isn't going to cost you anything, and it will help your organization to step forward into the future, because most people nowadays, when they're looking to choose somewhere to study or to spend their money or whatever it is, are looking for an organization that aligns with their ethics. And since most people now believe that we need action on climate change, then they will also be looking for organizations that share that belief.
Okay, that's very, very helpful. Thank you. And also, you mentioned two other things that may be of more interest to the audience this afternoon. Firstly, if teachers or organisations are interested in the two events that you mentioned, one of them this Friday and one on the 6th of June, how can they get involved?
Simply go to our website.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the website address there. You'll find some helpful tabs along the top. Click on the events tab and you'll find links there where you can register free of charge, and then join us on Zoom. We'll send you a reply, let you know how to take part. We're still asking for submissions for our conference on the 6th of June. So we're still open for submissions until the end of this month. And then we'll make some quick decisions at the beginning of May, hopefully to have a really, really interesting and practical series of presentations for teachers and organisations that want to do more.
And again, if anyone was interested in submitting a proposal, they could do so via the events page?
Exactly that, yes.
That's perfect. And Chris, you mentioned something about accreditation. Mm-hmm. So does this mean that schools can be accredited by Green Action ELT, or tell us a bit more about this?
No, I wouldn't go as far as to say that. The pledge is a kind of self-assessment. So it's a sort of a way of finding out for yourself or for your organisation where you currently stand. Mm-hmm. What are you currently doing? And then we will gently suggest other things that you could be doing as well, okay, to do even more. Where accreditation is concerned, I think accreditation implies some kind of external assessment of what you're doing, some external kind of audit. We don't have the resources to do that. But for example, on one of our I mentioned that we have 3 tiers of bronze, silver, gold. So at bronze level, for example, we might ask you to do things like say, well, will you pledge to think about these things and do what you can as a starter? And then perhaps at gold level, it might say, well, have you measured your impact, your environmental impact within your organization? And you might say, oh, crikey, I haven't a clue how to do that. You know, what do I do? And so we say, well, actually, perhaps go to another organization that has expertise in this. And if you then sign up with an external accreditation, then you immediately move up onto our gold band. So you can say, right, you know, we're really, really getting involved in this now as an organization. So that's what we're going to be talking about in Green Accreditation on Friday. So any individuals, either freelancers or organizations that, you know, would like to know more, please do come along on Friday, and we'll be happy to reveal everything.
Yeah, that sounds like a great, especially starting point for anybody who's not too sure how to get into this. And Chris, just to finish off, in the same way that Georgia asked Chris earlier if he could give one tip for a sustainable organization, for example, what would your tip be?
Don't try to do it alone. Talk to your colleagues, get their support. You'll discover that most people around you share your desire to make positive green change within the industry. So talk to others and try and act together. And that way you bounce ideas off each other. It's much more fun, it's much more supportive, much more morale boosting, and everybody benefits in the process.
That sounds like a great piece of advice. Thank you, Chris. And so people can start by doing this by perhaps attending your event on Friday.
I hope so. You're very kind.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for chatting to us this afternoon.
Happy Earth Day, everyone.
Yeah, and to you. And we're back, and we want to know even more about what we can do for our organisations and as teachers in order to promote sustainability. And we're joined by Jonathan Dykes. Jonathan, thank you so much for talking to us this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me to your show on this very special day.
It is, isn't it? And it's a perfect chance, as we've been doing, just to chat about sustainability and what we can start doing. So, Jonathan, for anyone who hasn't met you yet and not quite too sure what you do, could you introduce yourselves to us and tell us about your organisation?
Sure. Well, I've been working in the language teaching industry for a very, very long time. I started out as a teacher, like most of us do. Worked in various countries, then moved into the management of private language schools and ended up running a group of those schools. And I've started a number of schools over the years as well. I'm still involved in the management of some bricks and mortar schools, as well as a web-based language school. And I'm also working on a number of Erasmus projects, but that's like the day job, if you like. In my spare time.
And you have time.
I try to do what I can to encourage the language teaching sector to become more environmentally sustainable. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I thought that a good way to do this would be to try and design an accreditation system specifically for the language teaching sector. Because we're all probably familiar with other accreditation systems which are rather more generic. I think ISO has one. There are various others organized by the European Union. But none of them have been designed for our sector. So it seemed to me there was a little bit of an opportunity here to do something different and special. So that's what we set about doing and launched this association, Green Standard Schools, back in 2020. And the first thing I'd like to say, it is entirely a not-for-profit association, so no one's in this to make money. We're basically doing it because we think it's important to try and push language teaching organizations in the right direction.
And if anyone wanted to know a bit more about the organisation, or indeed get accredited, is there membership? How could they go about doing this?
Yeah, well, obviously, there's the basic information is on our website. So that, I hope, will explain the different steps you have to undertake. But essentially, well, it involves, first of all, registering your school on our website, which is very quick and simple, and then filling in 2 forms. The first part of the form, the first form, again, it's very quick and simple. It's just asking for basic information about the school. It's the second form that really will involve some time and effort, because this is a self-assessment of the school's current policies and practices, and it goes into some detail. So it consists of 50 yes/no questions that cover everything that we can think of that will have any environmental impact at all. So there are questions about, for example, the school's energy consumption. There are questions about the school's water consumption, about their purchasing policies, about their recycling policies, and so on and so on. And the task we set schools is to go through this form, go through every question one by one, and decide whether the answer to the question is yes or no, based on their current practices. If the answer is yes, then we ask them to upload some sort of evidence of what they're doing so that our assessors can verify it. In other words, if school says, we've gone paperless, but they don't provide any evidence of that, then I'm afraid they're not going to get very far on our system. We have to have some real evidence that will demonstrate what they're doing. So that's the system. It is a sort of self-assessment. We decided from the outset that we didn't want to send inspectors around the world for 2 reasons primarily. One is because, of course, that would generate costs, which we can do without. And secondly, it would also, of course, generate a carbon footprint, which sort of goes against what we're trying to achieve here. So we've designed this self-assessment form, but let's say it's rigorous, it's comprehensive. We are not giving accreditation away. People really have to earn it. But once you filled in the form, then you submit it, and our assessors, as I say, work through it. They award points, both for the answers given and for the evidence. Again, the evidence is crucial. And there's a maximum of 200 points available in this system that we've devised. And schools have to achieve a minimum of 130 points in order to be eligible for accreditation. which means they don't have to be perfect because no school is. There'll be certain areas where they're doing well and other areas where they're not doing so well. But we give every single application feedback. Our assessors will go through the form and comment on the answers and the evidence given, and send that back to the schools so that they can see from our point of view what they're doing well and where they perhaps need to improve.
Wow, okay, so this sounds like a very thorough process.
It is. It's designed to be both rigorous and systematic. And I mean, the good news is you don't have to do it all at once. It probably will take, let's say, a minimum 6-7 hours to go through this form and answer it all and upload the materials in form of evidence. But as I say, you don't have to do it all at once. You can save what you've done, go home for the night, relax, come back next day and do some more. So it's not too demanding in that sense, but it will take time and effort, and that's the whole point. We want this accreditation to be of value, so that it is worth working towards.
And how long does it take for the whole process to be completed? So you're saying maybe 6 or 7 hours to go through the form, and then once it's been submitted, how long on average does it take to go through?
It's a minimum, I would say, of 6-7 hours to complete the form. I mean, some schools have told us they've taken longer than that, but that's because they've perhaps done it rather more systematically. Once we've received the form, then we say that we will go through it, evaluate it, and get back to the schools with our feedback within 5 to 10 working days. So it's relatively quick and simple. But I should also perhaps point out that a majority of the schools that have submitted an application form don't make the minimum standard required at the first attempt. That's hardly surprising because everyone's doing something these days. Everyone's doing some recycling. Everyone's trying to, use less paper and so on. But not everyone's doing enough to achieve the minimum score, as I say, that we have established. So we put the benchmark fairly high. As I say, that's because we really want this accreditation to have value. And why do we want it to have value? Well, obvious reasons. We want the schools that have achieved it to be proud of it, and it has real value for the school in terms of what they're expressing to their students, to their staff, and saying like, this is a value that we have taken seriously.
Absolutely. And is this does this accreditation have a lifespan? Like, does it run out after a certain number of years and then you get reaccredited, or is it once?
Yeah, exactly that. You get accredited every year.
Right.
So every year we ask the schools to resubmit their self-assessment form. They can use the one they submitted initially, so they can basically just go through it and edit it, so they can make any changes and obviously again demonstrate what they're doing, so we can again verify it. But yeah, so the second or third or fourth time, it shouldn't take quite as long because they've done most of the work at the outset.
Absolutely. And is this something that kind of helps with business? I mean, I'm not sure if you have any statistics or anything. Does it draw in students knowing that they're going to a sustainable school, or does it have any impact that way?
Well, we believe it has real marketing value for sure. But I mean, I'm not suggesting for a minute that a student will decide to study at a specific school just because they have a Green Standard Schools accreditation. But what we argue is that it could become a factor in the decision-making process. In other words, if a student's looking, taking a course in the UK or Ireland or wherever, and they have maybe a short list of 3 or 4 schools, which perhaps are similar in terms of the courses they offer, the prices they charge, the accommodation services, and so on. But 1 or 2 of them have actually gone the extra mile in terms of demonstrating that they are serious about environmental sustainability and they've achieved accreditation. That may become a factor in the decision-making process. So, yeah, as far as we're concerned, that should be an added incentive to the schools to go down this road and put in the time and effort required.
Absolutely. So if anyone at home is watching and thinking, okay, I'm interested, then the website, as you can see, is on the screen. You can go to that, and that's where you'll find all the information in order to get the accreditation. But that's not the only thing on the website, though, is there? Teachers can also find other things of use to them, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Because we were fortunate to get some Erasmus funding to develop some study materials. So that's a project that actually finished just towards the end of last year. So through that project, we developed, I think, something like 240 lesson plans,
Oh, wow.
ready to go lesson plans for teachers and students of English, French, and Spanish. So the students, everyone can go to the website and just have a look at what we've got there. The lesson plans all include links to the study materials I mentioned in the lesson plans. Some of these are perhaps original videos, short videos that we produced through this Erasmus project, or they might be PowerPoint presentations or text or other things that that are needed to deliver the lesson. But that's all available completely free of charge, and it's available to everybody. And I should also perhaps mention that the accreditation process itself is also completely free of charge. I forgot to mention that earlier, but there's no financial risk involved in schools submitting a self-assessment form. We will review it, we'll give them feedback at zero cost. It's only if the schools meet the minimum standard required for accreditation and then decide that they want to become a member of our association that we will charge them a modest fee, but there's no upfront cost of any description.
Absolutely. Well, this is a lot of food for thought and very useful beginnings for people who might think, I don't know where to start, but I'm interested in having lessons with students about sustainability and also helping the organisation to become much more sustainable. Jonathan, thank you so much. It's been really interesting talking to you. And for anyone at home, the website is there. So please do go and take a look and see whether or not you are sustainable and you can join the organisation. Jonathan, thank you for talking to us this afternoon.
Again, thank you for inviting me.
Hello. Georgia, you're muted.
It's the classic.
It is, isn't it? Never going to change.
Never is going to change.
But, how interesting was that afternoon? How much information? Like, I can't believe there's so much out there for us to get started as individual teachers and organisations. It's absolutely fantastic.
Nikki, I just love the interviews because I'm really sorry I have to say this. I was in the background, but I was able to truly enjoy them and just to take notes and listen because it's so overwhelming when we talk about sustainability in ELT. Both all of us as educators, it can be quite overwhelming because we don't really know where to start. But I think that those interviews were incredible in inspiring us on how to start.
Absolutely, that's the thing. Absolutely, it's just even knowing that those two resources are there that we can go and have a look at, and then something will guide us the way that we want, the path that we want to go down. So just knowing it somehow allows us to find the trees or the wood for the trees. The other way around, the trees for the woods. With too much information, we can find what we're looking for. It was, fascinating.
Absolutely. Nikki, of course, I want to ask you a question then.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We've heard so many lovely things today. And I really want to ask you, if there is one thing that you could change in our industry to make it more sustainable, what would you do in your educational context?
One thing we did do, we had a conference at the beginning of the year, and we gave everybody a cup. And I think IATEFL may have done this for the main conference as well. We just gave everybody a cup that could hook onto their bags, and it meant that we weren't constantly using different coffee cups and stuff. And people were even drinking their wine from the cup. So we just felt it's a tiny step, but it makes a little difference. It does. So I think baby steps would be it's not changing anything, but it's the way I'd approach it, because otherwise it feels too big to take on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I do that in my school as well, because we have a school cafe too. And students sometimes ask me for paper cups or plastic cups so that they can refill their cups with water. But I refuse to give them because I say, well, this is not sustainable. Just bring your own water bottle. Of course, I can give you one now, but please make sure to bring your own. And I think that you're absolutely right.
Yeah, bit by bit, and we'll get there.
Absolutely. So for the people watching us from home, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope that we have given you some very nice ideas to use in your classes, to use in your schools, to use in your educational setting. Because if there's one thing you can do is inspire each other. So, Nikki, thank you very much for the interviews. I would like to thank also John from Head Office, Chris from IATEFL, our IATEFL President, Chris Etchels from Green Action ELT, and Jonathan Dykes from Green Standard Schools who joined us today. And thank all of you who joined us today in our Sustainability and Earth Day special show. So we hope to see you again soon in our main show that is all going to be about mental health in education.
Oh, very good.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, everybody. We will see you soon.